This episode of Star Trek includes scenes of sexual assault. Therefore, this episode of Humanist Trek includes discussions of this topic. Listener discretion is advised.
Perhaps I could use this as an excuse to go to those far-off planets with little polka-dotted people if necessary, and be able to talk about love, war, nature, God, sex, all those things that go to make up the excitement of the human condition.
I'm Captain James Kirk. Spock.
Your move, Captain. Jim Kirk of the Enterprise.
What's going on? I'm James Kirk. These people are my friends and my shipmates. Leave my crew alone.
Out of the question.
How about that?
James Kirk.
It fits like a glove, Captain.
Oh, the bonehead ideas. Gentlemen, I'm Captain James Kirk. Get out of my chair. Get out of it now.
My greetings and felicitations, Captain. So good of you and your officers to, drop in. Absolutely smashing.
Hey everybody, welcome to Humanist Trek. It's a Star Trek podcast about the humanism in Star Trek. I'm Sarah Ray.
And I'm Allie Ashmead.
And we inadvertently signed up for the PTO. So Halloween's right around the corner, right?
Is that the same thing as a PTA?
Yes. Yes, it's a PTO is the organization or A is association.
Gotcha.
Same thing. Yes, PTA, PTO. Apparently, our kids at the elementary school has not had a PTO hardly to speak of in like 7 years, which kind of that like red flag a little bit like, that's our parents not involved. Like what's going on? Is the school not making the effort? Like where is the ball being dropped? And so my wife, Becca, was dropping the kids off at school one morning and our kids' teacher was like, so we're going to do this Halloween thing again, which apparently I guess they used to do back in the day. They're trying to bring back some of those activities. Mm-hmm. And one of them was this Halloween thing. Essentially, it's a safe neighborhood Halloween. So the school opens up and the teachers are like running their classrooms and you just kind of go through the halls from room to room trick-or-treating.
Cool.
Right? Get you off the streets doing God knows what, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
So they're doing it again this year for the first time in a long time. And she was like, I really need some parents to volunteer to help out. Mm-hmm. And Becca was like, sure. And then our daughter's friend's mom signed on as well. So now we're volunteering and
voluntold.
Volunteering. Yeah.
Well, it'll be fun though.
It will be fun.
Think of the
we
smiles.
Get to decorate
the
door. That's one of the things that she needed help with.
Yeah.
And Becca's super crafty. So
yeah. And the kids will love it.
Love it. Yep. And then I got to figure out what I'm going to be though. We're going to like be in charge of her room or take a shift running her room or whatever, passing out candy. Right. So we need to be in costume too.
Yeah.
I don't have any costumes.
See, if it was me, I would be something really scary and it would probably be too much for the kids because I have done that before. But yeah, you could think of something fun, but not too scary. Like, how old is everyone? How old are
It's elementary school, right? So like 5 to whatever.
Yeah, you don't want to scare the shit out of those kids. No. So something, whatever, like, I mean, I don't know what's on Disney
do you
these
want to go
days.
cheap and easy and we all be witches?
I mean,
you know, like that's kind of where I'm at. I think I might have one of those cheap Halloween level stormtrooper costumes somewhere. Mm-hmm. I could do that again.
I still have a nun costume.
Oh my!
I was. Never mind.
You want to give them the website address? That's at allieashmead.xxx.
No. PayPal me at it was a long time ago. I did a zombie nun.
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't anything like that. It was a zombie nun.
Right.
So
you weren't like impersonating nuns for the purposes of foul things.
No.
Yeah. Okay. You just got back from. This is a fast gear change. You just
let's change the subject.
Yeah. Let's not talk about zombie sex. You recently went to the Women of Color Beyond Belief conference.
Yes.
How was that?
It was amazing. It's in Chicago, and it's usually around September, October time of year. Mm-hmm. And this was my second time going. I went back in 2019, and
Okay.
I loved it. I made lots of friends, met lots of people, and made lots of good connections. And then I went this year. So the conference itself features the perspective and the work of secular women of color. They had amazing speakers and sessions. And first, I wanted to mention the first thing we did when we on the first night was we watched kind of like an independent film.
Okay.
Made by an LGBTQ person.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got to view that film, and it was like 24 minutes. It's called Tracks. You guys can look it up. It's on YouTube. But it was kind of like a portion of her life as she was discovering that she was LGBTQ plus. So it took kind of an excerpt out of her life. And it was really well done. And so I encourage people to go watch it.
Yeah.
She's a really talented filmmaker. And so, yeah.
If I can find the link, I'll drop it in the show notes.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. And then we had all kinds of different sessions. Like we talked about reproductive justice. How do we fight after the SCOTUS decision? There was even sessions on podcasting and YouTube and online content. How do you get started? One of the sessions that impressed me was the Black, Indigenous, people of color, Gen Z secular atheists. These were 3 young women.
The 3 women. The 3.
The 3.
Yeah.
They were just so fired up as young. So I remember being that age. Which, how old is Gen Z? That's about what? 18, 19, 20.
Yeah.
They're about to enter college, or at least a year into college. And these ladies I'm just so proud and encouraged, because there's some days when I look around social media and I'm like, man, we're fucked.
Yeah.
But then I see these ladies who are outspoken and passionate, and they know what's what as young as they are, because I don't think I did when I was their age.
Oh, no.
I love it. So that was amazing to see.
The kids are going to save us, I hope.
They're going to have to, because we're fucking it up really bad.
Yeah.
And then there was a cool one, exploring our sexuality, exuberantly and unapologetically. That was cool.
Nice.
And then at the end of the conference, we did a food packing event where we got all the people at the conference who wanted to volunteer and help. We put some food packages together. Nice. And shipped them off for the local food bank. So that was a cool thing that Go Humanity sponsored.
Awesome.
And it was a nice, the conference as a whole, it was a really nice fellowship type without the church.
Right.
And these ladies are incredibly smart and accomplished, and it was just an honor to be in the same room with them. So
yeah, that's awesome. Well, I'm glad you had a good time.
Yeah.
And you're traveling a lot right now. You got a lot of traveling going on.
I know. I'm tired. I have to go to Arizona next week for a whole week, and then I'm home because there's so much stuff I need to do. I need that house, girl. That house is killing me. So I need to be home for all the stuff that I'm planning to do. And
yeah, and winter's coming.
Yeah, winter's coming, which I'm glad. I'm tired of burning up, but yeah, it's winter. Winter got here quick.
Yeah,
one day it was 90, and then the next day, and then it was gone, and
done.
Summer was gone, and
and the trees are all changing leaves, and it's crazy. All right, well, what do you say we get to the episode that we're going to discuss today?
Let's do it.
It's Star Trek: The Original Series, Season 1, Episode 6. The Enemy Within.
Sir, contact with an object. It's moving toward us. No visual contact yet.
Deflectors, full intensity.
Mr. Sulu. Yes, Captain. Anything on your scanners?
It's coming at light speed. Collision course. Visual contact.
Anything, over?
All wavelengths dominated by ionization effects, sir.
All engines full stop.
The Enterprise is in orbit of another foam rock planet.
This one was actually really well done. It actually looked really good.
Mm-hmm. On the surface, Sulu is holding a unipuppy. This sweet shaggy dog. And it's got this little single horn on its forehead.
Oh my gosh. But really, it's a Cocker Spaniel with a fursuit on.
Yep.
And why did they put was it a rhinoceros horn?
Something like that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It was so bad. It was so badly done.
Oh, Puppy was so cute, though.
It was cute. It was cute.
They're talking about the planet. It gets to negative 120 degrees at night, and night is a coming.
Sulu says, that's nippy.
Yeah.
So the away team consists of Kirk and Sulu, and then a geological technician named Fisher, and 3 other UCs we never even know what their names are.
Yep. So geological technician Fisher falls from a high place, and his hand is all scratched up, and he's got yellow paint all over him that's supposed to look like dust.
Dust, but terrible.
But it was very much like paint.
Yep.
Scotty beams him up, and during the transport, a little red light goes off on the console, but they bring him in anyway. Scotty scans Fisher and says that the yellow dust is magnetic and sends him off to be contaminated.
Right.
Now, just last episode, they did a decontamination right there on the transporter pad. Just flash the lights a little bit.
They just said, nope, we don't have the budget.
Can't turn the lights on again.
Yeah.
So you could just use that again.
Yeah.
Scott's trying to figure out what happened when Kirk radios to be beamed back up.
Yep. He says, looks like a burnout, or maybe it's a burnout, or I don't know, whatever that means.
Yeah. When Kirk beams back up, he kind of staggers off this transporter pad.
Right.
And tries to walk through a wall.
He's like,
that's not the door.
Yeah, that's not the door.
Been drunk and done that before, for sure.
Yeah. Oh.
So Scotty walks him out, and
too.
Kirk says, don't leave the transporter room unattended.
Right.
But Scotty ignores it and leaves. And then
the transporter just kicks on all by itself. Nobody's in there to run it. Yep. And the second version of Kirk materializes. And then, of course, with the cinematography, how they put him all in dark, like he's in shadow.
Yep.
And he's to give the impression that he's evil.
Right.
This evil Kirk gets off the transporter pad, and he's so overacting. Okay. I mean, it's funny and it's good. It's good, but it's totally overacting. And everybody that he comes in contact with is confused by his behavior. I think he runs into the transporter helper guy. His name is Wilson. And he's like, yeah, you're all right, Captain Kirk? And yeah, he's just acting weird.
So a captain's log tells us they're on a specimen gathering mission on planet Alpha 177, and that evil Kirk was created by a transporter malfunction. This seemed to me like a captain's log in the future, because at this point, nobody knows there's an evil Kirk, right? We go to the theme song, and then we come back and have this interaction. Now they know that there is an evil Kirk, but they haven't on screen acknowledged that, we found this other character or whatever.
Yeah.
That's not acknowledged. Out in the hallway, Scotty tells Kirk he should go let McCoy check him out. But first, Kirk enters his quarters, and there sits Yeoman Rand with some 3.5-inch floppy disks.
First of all, why is she in his quarters?
Exactly.
Okay, why is she in his quarters? And she said something about she's done the ship's manifest or something, and
right. I filed the papers for you.
Yeah.
Or something.
Right. But he kind of dismisses her.
Yeah.
And he's like, he seems kind of just, what's the matter, Kirk? He seems down. But yeah, I'm like, what's she doing in his quarters? But anyway, he goes and he lies down.
Fisher's down in sick bay, and McCoy is spraying some Ecolab chemical on his hand, again with those basic dollar store spray bottles that are not labeled. Evil Kirk comes in, and
he saunters. Well, I don't know if he's kind of walking like he's drunk.
Like a swagger.
Yeah, but saunters, slinks, or one of those.
And he orders some Saurian brandy, like he's at the bar or something. Grabs a hold of McCoy and shakes him up a little bit, and then grabs the bottle of brandy and storms out into the hallway.
Yeah.
Drinking from the bottle until he ends up outside Woman Rand's quarters.
Oh, this poor woman. I know she's sick of these motherfuckers. The sexual content in this show is...
I'll throw a warning on at the beginning.
Yeah.
Before it goes to post.
It's a bit rapey.
Yeah.
And it's very uncomfortable to watch. And just going to say that there.
Yeah.
So he goes into Janice's quarters. She's not there.
Right.
But he's prowling around her quarters, drinking brandy and waiting for her to come in.
Right. And we know from previous episode that like Kirk's got the hots for her.
Yeah.
But he holds back because he's the captain.
Right. He keeps it professional.
So
which
evil Kirk, though.
Oh, he's like,
yeah. Spock arrives at Kirk's quarters. McCoy sent him to check on Kirk after the incident in sickbay.
With the brandy, because that was evil Kirk. And he's thinking that was...
something's not right with the captain. You better go check on him. This gets very confusing as to whether good character or bad character is on the screen. When I was making my notes, it was like, okay, Kirk is Kirk and evil Kirk is evil Kirk.
So like, I know the only way to tell them apart was like what they were wearing. Well, and also the lighting.
Right.
Because it looks like they gave evil Kirk like eyeliner as well as casting him in the dark.
Right.
So
yeah, I want to say he seemed a bit on the sweatier side, like his face, the face sweat effect.
He was greasy.
Yeah, that's the
why
word.
Why is he so greasy? But yeah, is that like the indication of bad? Like someone's greasy, they're evil. I don't know.
Wow. So Spock arrives at Kirk's quarters. McCoy had sent him to check on Kirk after that whole brandy incident in sickbay. He said Kirk was acting all crazy. And Kirk's like, oh, Spock, McCoy got you again.
He's pulling your leg.
Now, Scotty is holding Unipuppy. And he's showing Kirk and Spock around. Like they just walking around with their little dog and they hand him off and pass him around.
This poor little dog. I mean, did they ever say like what it was? They just said it's from the planet.
Yeah, I don't think they did say what it was. We need a plushie of that though. Hey, Star Trek merchandising team, if you're listening,
that would be fantastic.
What we don't want is the starship is landing. What we do want is this Unipuppy.
Horned puppy.
It's like Unikitty, but it's Unipuppy.
Except different.
Yeah, except anyway, Scotty's got Unipuppy and he's showing Kirk and Spock another nastier version of Unipuppy. So it seems they beamed up the Unipuppy and got a second evil Unipuppy too, just like Kirk.
And I don't know what they did to piss this dog off when they were like training, but he was like snarling and barking. They put him in a cage.
Scotty is explaining that the duplicate is more of an opposite and says that they can't beam up the rest of the away team because if this were happened to a man,
what would happen? Dun, dun, dun.
And now it seems like Kirk knows, but the next couple of scenes make it seem like he doesn't.
Yeah.
That was a strange facial reaction on his part.
Yeah.
It's
like it's clear to us. I mean, you've got to surmise that, okay, if it happened to the dog, it should have happened. It happened to you
happened
too.
To me, right.
But yeah, it's like they don't quite get it yet, but yeah.
But anyway, it may be too late. Evil Kirk's perv stalking Janice, and she comes into her quarters and starts undoing the basket weave hairdo that she's got going on again.
Same hairdo.
Basket weave.
Basket. It's huge.
He says they've been pretending far too long. And then it gets real rapey.
Yeah. He's like, you're too beautiful to ignore. And he grabs her. He forces a kiss. I mean, they literally struggle. He's got her on the floor, him on top of him, him on top of her.
I was surprised this was on network television in the 1960s.
Me too. It was incredibly explicit and rapey.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't show any, skin or anything, but still.
Yeah.
The hint of sexual violence.
Yeah.
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 It was.
And would be easily triggering to anyone who is a victim of such.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, I imagine that many women unfortunately have been in this type of situation where they're like having to deal with like unwanted advances from someone. Back when I was going to the club and stuff, and that was not even men I knew. That was just
right.
Which if you know that person, that makes it so much worse.
Yeah.
But then, they they feel like they can do or say anything they want to you, and then you owe them your attention simply because they're interested in you.
Yeah.
And I hate that. It was not a good scene.
No. And if you're going to do, like, if you were going to do that kind of scene today, you would have to include a content warning.
Yeah.
Like, if you were going to have this scene in that way, then I would expect that the episode deals with it.
Right.
Right. If you're going to show it, then
there's
at the end of this, we get a lot of awkward scenes between Kirk and Rand about the whole situation. Like, but nobody ever comes out and really addresses it.
Not at all.
Yeah.
It was a bit, is the word fortuitous in a way, because there was no purpose really for it other than to show him being evil.
Right.
But even, well, I know we're kind of skipping ahead, but there was an opportunity to address it, like you said, and they didn't.
Yeah.
It was a time, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, she scratches his face and escapes.
Go, Janice.
Runs to the door, and it opens, and she yells, Fisher's out in the hallway, and she yells at Fisher to call for Spock. But then evil Kirk runs after Fisher and takes him down.
He's throwing hands at poor Fisher, and he wasn't even doing nothing. All he was going to do was just call for help. But yeah.
Detective Spock is in Kirk's quarters now, trying to put the pieces together.
As usual.
Rand says he was in her quarters. He says he wasn't. McCoy says he came in and demanded brandy. Kirk says he didn't. With Kirk and Spock headed to sickbay, evil Kirk slips into Kirk's quarters, nursing a wound on his bloodied hand.
Yeah. It's like literally sucking on his knuckle. On his, okay.
Yep. We have to talk about this next scene, too, because here in sickbay, Rand is being asked to retell the story.
Oh, man. Isn't this like, it's like sexual assault being assaulted all over again?
Yeah.
That's exactly what.
You don't do that. And you don't, there are a lot of religious cults who do this shit. Like when you make an accusation of improper conduct, right? You know, Pastor so-and-so touched me or whatever. They'll bring those people together in a room to discuss it. Don't do that.
Yeah.
You don't bring your victim in the same room with the attacker.
Right.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
But you see that a lot in some of those high control religious cults.
Yeah. And poor Janice. She was pretty distraught. Kirk was there, Spock, and the doctor. And all the time he's like, it wasn't me. And we do know it wasn't him. But at the same time, to her, it was him.
It was him.
It was him.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, he is the captain and I just couldn't. And then she trails off. And I was thinking that she was going to say that she couldn't say no because he is the captain.
Right.
Because we know that men don't abuse their power at all. Or not just men, but people in power. Yeah, they never abuse their power.
Right.
So I just felt that was a interesting scene.
Yeah.
Very poignant. So she does recount what happened. She says, I scratched his face. But then she doesn't see scratches on his face. And she's starting to think, well, maybe I didn't scratch him because his face is clean.
Right.
But then Fisher, poor Fisher, he's like, he got a beat down.
Yep.
And he comes in. He was also a witness, though.
Right.
And he caught hands for it. And she said that if it wasn't for Fisher seeing it, she probably wouldn't have mentioned it because she didn't want to get Kirk in trouble. Like, come on, you're protecting your abuser.
Yeah. And that's a thing that people do.
Yeah.
Like that is often part of that experience.
Yeah.
By default. When
I talked about like getting, it was more than just getting hit on in the clubs. It was like getting groped and like, come on, baby, what's wrong with you? And it's when it's happening, a lot of times you don't even realize, like, is this really happening?
Yeah.
So, yeah. But, I mean, Fisher comes out and corroborates her story. So
then Spock suggests there's only one logical answer. there's an imposter aboard.
Always Spock with the answers. He's the only one literally on this fucking ship that's thinking, not thinking with his dick.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Seriously.
For sure.
Except that one time.
Captain's log. The away team is stuck on the planet. It's going to get too cold to survive soon. And now we've got an evil twin on the loose.
Yeah.
Kirk's holding Unipuppy now. They just passed this poor little dog around. And they decide to send out search parties to find evil Kirk. But Spock says we can't kill it because we don't know what might happen to real Kirk.
Right.
Kirk says he's going to let the crew know what's going on. But Spock advises against that. He's like, you can't let the crew see you as vulnerable. If you're not perfect, they begin to doubt you and you lose command, he says. I am here to tell you that is complete horseshit. I think we talked about this on an earlier episode about like how good leadership includes showing your own humanity and being vulnerable and that including your faults. So Kirk here says he doesn't understand why he forgot this nugget of leadership.
Yeah.
So maybe taking the evil side of Kirk out leaves behind a weak Kirk. Maybe it's not a complete duplicate, but somehow Kirk was split in two. Like we're still trying to figure out exactly what happened and how those personalities are interacting.
Yeah, he's this Kirk, the real Kirk, seems to just be losing confidence in himself. That
was a weird thing to see.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. Thank goodness for Spock. I mean, Kirk wouldn't be shit without that Spock. Everybody's got to have a wingman and a best friend, and it's nice. Well, not they don't have to have it, but it's nice when you have it. And yeah, without Spock.
We get another captain's log. Kirk says, somehow in all of this transporter malfunction, I lost my strength of will. And then he opens up a Skype call to the whole ship and he broadcasts, there's a doppelganger aboard and you can identify him by the scratch marks on his face.
Well, of course, the evil guy is listening. I mean, what the fuck? Of course.
Of course.
He hears the announcement. Now, I don't know what room he's in, but he miraculously, there's a thing of makeup.
Is that Kirk's quarters?
I think so. It was in his own quarters. And so the captain has makeup.
Did we go back to Janice's quarters?
Oh, I don't think so. Yeah.
Or does Kirk wear makeup?
Kirk wears makeup.
There you go.
And he covers the scratches so that no one can see the scratches. So to the viewer, like the only way I know is they're wearing a different shirt.
Yep. I didn't notice that until later.
No, that was the first thing I noticed was because they're wearing the real Kirk has a green,
right? The command wrap. Yeah.
And then the evil Kirk has the typical yellow.
Yeah. So the door opens and Wilson's out in the hallway. And he grabs Wilson's phaser and then karate chops him to the neck.
But before he does that, he's like, how you been, Wilson?
Yeah.
And then he karate chops him. I'm like, that's really fucked up.
Right? And all these karate chops to the neck. That was a signature move back in the original series.
Yeah.
Back on the planet, now it's negative 20 degrees. And Sulu's getting a little chilly now.
He keeps his humor.
He does.
The whole time they call to check on him, and he's like, "I'm still waiting on the room service. Can you beam down a pot of coffee?"
Yes.
I mean, he's just. I just love him so much. I love him so much. They did try to beam down thermal heaters, but then they end up duplicating, and they don't. When they didn't work. Yeah, so they're fucking freezing.
Why haven't we launched a shuttle yet?
You know. Did they not have a shuttle? Did they not have a shuttle back then?
They did.
Did they?
There's an episode about a shuttle.
Jesus Christ. We haven't gotten to that.
It was at this moment that I was like, if you can't transport them,
there's got to be.
Send them a shuttle.
Yeah. I've not seen a shuttle yet, though.
No.
So maybe they don't have one. Good point, though, because I know they did add one.
They do, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Good
All
call.
we had to do was launch a shuttle and this whole episode would have been over.
But then, but they have to be dependent on the transporter.
Kirk and Spock get a call. Wilson was found knocked out near the captain's cabin. So it was near the captain's cabin. Kirk wears makeup. Final answer.
Fine. And that's fine. But I've never seen it makeup on on the show ever.
No.
Okay.
No. And I wonder if we'll see it again. Spock suggests a bit of chess here. If evil Kirk has all the knowledge that real Kirk has, maybe we can anticipate his next move. And Kirk says if he were trying to elude a mass search, he'd go to the lower decks. Engineering. Spock and Kirk arrive in engineering. Spock wants to call for reinforcements, but Kirk's an idiot and says no. He doesn't
want anyone to know.
He just doesn't want anyone to see him weak, which is still stupid. Evil Kirk is climbing up above them and then drops down after Spock walks away. So now they're like slowly chasing each other around engineering, cat and mouse, like real slow walking. Until finally evil Kirk and real Kirk come face to face. Kirk tries to psychology him a little bit. Like, look, you can't hurt me. You can't kill me because we need each other.
I'm part of you. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Spock comes around the corner and Vulcan nerve pinches evil Kirk. Just as evil Kirk fires his phaser, missing Kirk, but hitting a bulkhead.
That's important. Like what he hits later on.
Of all the things to have hit.
Fucking course. Of course.
KSM are in sickbay. Evil Kirk is knocked out and McCoy is strapping him down to the biobed. Spock explains that Kirk's being all wishy-washy because he needs his evil side. That his evil side, when controlled by his good side, is what gives him the strength of leadership.
I didn't like this.
That's horseshit too.
Yeah, I didn't like that. The notion that being evil or having that negative side makes you strong, like that's not. I did not agree with that.
No. No, there's a lot in the premise here that I'm just like, nope, I don't agree that if you were to split someone good and evil, that the good would be weak and the evil would be strong.
Yeah, that's not. I don't like that. I did not like that at all.
No.
Yeah.
So Scotty radios up. It just so happens that the bulkhead that got blasted with the phaser was part of the transporter control.
Of course it was.
So now the transporter really won't work. Where are the shuttles?
Right. So whatever he damaged can't be repaired in less than a week. So, man, poor Sulu, they're fucked.
No, they are freezing their Winnebagos off down on the surface.
Yep, 75 degrees below and dropping. And right now, all they have are phasers. And the way they're keeping warm is they're blasting the rocks with the phasers, heating up the rock, and then using that to stay warm.
This was the one where Sulu asked... again, keeping up his spirits, if they could just find a really long rope and lower me down a pot of coffee.
Bless his heart. He's just a doll. I just love him.
Now it's 75 below zero.
Yep.
And Sulu heats up some rocks with his phaser. Sulu calls up again, and he's got jokes. Despite the shit conditions and certain death, he's like, calling room service again. This coffee's taken forever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's your keeping his spirits up through the whole thing.
He's got a great sense of humor, even though he's going to freeze to death.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he asks Kirk if there's any chance of beaming them up before the skiing season starts.
Oh, that's right. Yep. Oh, I love him so.
Evil Kirk comes into sickbay and he's screaming up a storm. His levels are all elevated and McCoy says he's dying. Kirk sits bedside and holds his hand, telling him not to be afraid. And Kirk's pep talk actually works.
Yeah.
Evil Kirk's levels return to normal. So it's like, being together makes them who they are.
Both stronger.
Right.
Yeah. And Kirk's like kind of wrestling internally with himself because he hates the evil Kirk because he's a thoughtless, brutal animal. Yet he's like, it's me. It's me. And then McCoy says, we all have our darker side, but we need it, and that it's human. Yeah, I mean, everyone has a darker side. We don't need it.
Right. It is human.
It is human. We don't need it, though.
Yeah.
But I think it's, if you have it, acknowledge it, control it, but don't embrace that evil side. But,
right.
Yeah.
So Spock radios down and asks Kirk to come to the transporter room. By the way, Evil Kirk was laying there awake, listening to this whole conversation, and then we get a close-up and some creepy music that, like, it indicates that he may have the advantage
Is
now.
that why? And I think that was when he smiled. I think he was like laying there smiling.
Yes. Kirk arrives in the transporter room, and they decide to send Unipuppy through to test it out.
Like, hey, we think we fixed it. Let's test it on the animal.
So Scotty grabs evil Unipuppy, and Spock sedates it, and they put both Unipuppies on the transporter pad, beam them out and back in, and only one Unipuppy returns. Success!
Yay!
Except Unipuppy is dead.
Oh
my God! They've killed
Specimen on planet Alpha 177.
you, bastards!
Damn.
Do we count Unipuppy in the body count?
Yes,
yeah,
we're gonna do.
He was so
Unipuppy.
cute. So now, how do we put the Kirks back together without them dying like Unipuppy?
Yeah.
Spock does a captain's log here, which is dumb because he says that Kirk remains in command, right? Though his force of will is fading fast. So wouldn't it have been a first officer's log?
To just take over.
But he did a captain's log.
Yeah.
Commander Spock reporting whatever. Sulu and party are critical now on the surface. KSM are in sickbay, and McCoy orders Unipuppy to be taken for an autopsy. Then Spock and McCoy rap battle about what caused Unipuppy to die. Was it shock? Spock argues that Kirk still has his intelligence, so the shock wouldn't affect him the same way.
Yeah. I think they're just thinking that the poorest puppy was so scared that was why it died.
Right. And McCoy's like, this isn't science, you nitwits.
but just McCoy says that?
Yes. Because a great line.
But the thing is, in the other episode, McCoy was the one who said
emotional
that Tormund died because he gave up.
Yeah.
So shut up, McCoy. Just shut up.
So it's obvious that Kirk is fading fast.
Yep.
He can't make any firm decisions. Spock drops some truth on McCoy and reveals that all of this reminds him of himself, alien and human, two halves at war with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And he survives it because his intelligence controls them both and makes them coexist. Kirk begs for somebody to make the decision for him,
right,
but refuses to give up command. So they force him to make a choice, and he chooses to go ahead with the transport.
Right.
But asks McCoy to continue the biopsy on Unipuppy just in case. You might learn something, We just go continue your study.
Like, why does he have that horn on his head or something?
Sulu radios up again. Now it's 117 below. They're almost dead down there. Two men are unconscious, and Sulu fades out. Evil Kirk and Real Kirk have a conversation about going through this transport. Evil Kirk says he won't fight anymore, like he's giving in.
Yeah.
He feels weak and he collapses into Kirk. But then we get a good old-fashioned Star Trek fight between Kirk and Kirk.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you should have known Evil Kirk was lying. He's
right.
like, oh, I'll do what he's lying. He's evil. He's evil.
This was a great scene of, early television, the same character fighting himself, and
because they never show
using body doubles and how to pull off those camera angles.
They show everything from behind the second person with but you can tell it's not.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Out in the hallway, Rand is coming out of the turbo lift, and Kirk stops her. This is Evil Kirk now, pretending to be Real Kirk. He even changed into that. That's when he changed into that other shirt, the wrap.
Yep.
He tells her about the duplicate, says that it was Evil Kirk who came into her quarters, and lies and says he even scratched me so we'd look more alike.
This motherfucker.
And then he says he wants a chance to explain.
Yep.
You don't mind if I come to your cabin later?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Creepy. So Evil Kirk arrives on the bridge and orders Helm to leave orbit abruptly.
It's like, the party, they can't be saved. Let's go.
Let's go.
And surely they know that Real Kirk would never do that.
Right? At least recover the bodies or whatever. Like, yeah. So then we get a whole who's the real Kirk scramble around the bridge.
Yep.
Spock sides with the correct Kirk, and evil Kirk goes nuts again.
Yeah. I don't want to die. And, it's kind of like he knows he doesn't want to die. He likes to exist outside of Kirk's body, but at the same time, neither of them can survive without each other.
Right. He says, if you kill me, you kill us both.
Mm-hmm.
So Kirk kind of inches forward and ultimately gets the phaser out of his hand. Evil Kirk says he doesn't want to go back. He wants to live.
I want to live.
Kirk says they will live. They'll live together.
Just not the way you want.
Just not the way you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
In the transporter room, both Kirks stand on the transporter pad, still unsure if this will actually even work. Spock operate, and I didn't feel like enough was made about we're going to let the captain go through this very dangerous process without some kind of something else to that. It felt like there was something missing.
Yeah.
In that story.
And Scotty wasn't there, was he? In this, I know Spock was.
No, Spock operates the transporter.
Yeah, where the fuck was Scotty?
Who's in charge of the transporter right now?
I don't know. What do we need Scotty for? If anybody can, walk up and use the transporter.
Right. Spock operates the transporter, beaming away the two Kirks, and then beams back the whole Kirk.
By the way, this fucking took like 30 seconds. I was counting. I'm like, why is it taking so long? And they just had all these long dramatic pauses. And like he disappeared. And I was like, it had to be almost 20 to 25 seconds.
Before they pulled him back.
Yeah. I'm like, dude, I know drama. But I'm nitpicking. I am nitpicking. But yeah.
Yeah. Drama or extending the time somewhere.
Yeah. They had like a minute to kill.
Kirk orders the away team to be beamed up fast. They've all got extreme frostbite, but they'll make it.
Mm-hmm.
On the bridge, Yo Woman Rand tells Kirk that evil Kirk told her what happened, and she tries to say something, stumbling a couple of times, and Kirk cuts her off with a thank you. And Spock says to Rand, the imposter had some interesting qualities, didn't he? Ugh.
Just groan. I mean, seriously. One thing, like...
Again, this is not how you talk to a victim of sexual assault.
No empathy.
Yeah, your attacker has
all
interesting
the empathy,
qualities.
All the empathy towards the captain and none towards,
of course,
the woman. And so when Kirk stepped off of the pad, when he's once again one person, he stepped off of the transporter pad. He says he's seen a part of himself that no man should ever see.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think you need to be aware. I think you should be aware of your issues.
Of that side of yourself. Yeah.
So I don't know that I agree with that. You shouldn't see it, but you should definitely like acknowledge, hey, I've got this ugly part of myself.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe you shouldn't see it, but I don't know. I'm nitpicking again.
That's what we do. This one was interesting. For me, I was thinking about like that inner demons that we all have and how we kind of constantly wrestle with or tamp that down. And just, it's an interesting story to tell, to sort of split that into two different people.
Yeah.
And kind of distill the good into one and the evil into the other.
Yeah.
As a story idea, it was kind of cool.
Yeah, the story idea was kind of cool, but like why, and I know we said this before, but why is strength considered evil and then goodness or whatever, empathy and all these nice things considered weakness?
Right. Yeah.
We need to start recognizing that having empathy and not doing those bad things is actual strength.
Right.
That's strength.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We got our values kind of screwed up.
They're opposite.
Yeah. I like to think that we're on a trajectory of better. Right? Like in the past, it was worse and we're getting better. I'd like to think that. Sometimes
we can hope. And there are days when I don't know.
Yeah. The other thing, and this comes up again, and I'm really looking forward to discussing this specific episode in the far distant future. Mm-hmm. But like when we first learned that Kirk was split in two, right? I had feelings about forcing them back together.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, do we now have two distinct separate beings once the Kirks had been divided?
I don't know. I mean, because they were both like, they didn't seem like they could survive without each other.
Right. But is it ethical to like force them to recombine?
Oh,
That choice should be theirs because they're
that's true.
Unique individuals.
Yeah. That's true. Oh, you got me.
Yeah.
You got me. But they were forced to be.
But if they're both going to die anyway, like, how does that change that formula?
Yeah.
I don't know.
They're going to die without each other.
I assume you're loitering around here to learn what efficiency rating I plan to give your cadets.
Trainees, to the briefing room. Is that all you gotta say? What about my performance?
Aren't you dead?
I don't believe this was a fair test of my command abilities. There was no way to win.
There's no correct resolution. It's a test of character.
Now, what is that supposed to mean?
I am understandably curious.
May I ask you a question?
Who's been holding up the damn elevator?
All right, so now let's bring Becca back in for our answer to the exciting question for this episode, The Enemy Within. And the question was...
This is the first episode to show us Spock using the Vulcan nerve pinch. However, it was not in the original script for this episode. So, how did this unscripted, now famous Vulcan signature move come into existence?
I don't know, but I want to pick some bones.
Yeah.
Because last week's episode, The Naked Time, there is a Vulcan neck pinch.
Really?
Yeah. On Sulu. But
we had to scroll to the thing and look it up.
Really? Because it may have been recorded out of order.
Because they released them in a different order than they recorded them.
Yeah.
So it may just be depending on which.
Okay.
So yeah, I was like,
order
that's
you're
not
watching.
the first time of the.
Okay.
Because I know Sulu, he laid Sulu out.
Okay, well, I will own that one. It could have just been the way that I phrased the question.
So we win?
No.
Ah, fuck.
Damn.
No.
Okay,
but
what's the answer? So what's the answer?
Oh, do you want me to remind you of what your guesses were?
Yeah. What was my guess?
Yeah. What was
Sarah
my guess?
said, was he supposed to karate chop and mess up?
Oh, right. We talked about how like something just happened. Like
It was an accident.
like he put his hand on somebody's shoulder and they were like, ugh.
And then Allie said they were fighting and he accidentally hurt somebody, so they changed it up. So
okay.
The answer I have for you is the original script called for Spock to karate chop Kirk to subdue him.
What?
So you're half right.
Oh. What?
There's more.
Okay.
Cheating.
Okay.
Cheating.
But Leonard Nimoy pointed out that for a peace-loving species like the Vulcan, this would be uncharacteristically violent. So he came up with a pincher-like grasp on the neck that would disable but not permanently harm the target.
Nice.
Is that a half point?
Yeah, I'll give
That's
you
a half
Okay.
point. You got 1 point. You got a 0.5 ahead of me.
Yeah. Damn.
That makes sense.
It does.
Good going, Leonard Nimoy.
I wouldn't have even thought, though, of like the peaceful Vulcan civilization.
Yeah. I guess you have to stay in character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So now let's get the question for next week's episode, Mudd's Women.
Why do the uniforms seem to fit differently in this episode?
Maybe.
What?
Maybe they.
On everyone?
In general, yes.
This was probably about the time that they got some budget.
Yeah, could be. This was what, fifth?
Because I've noticed
sixth episode. So
I've noticed we talked early about the mismatch and like they didn't all look like they were made the same, like off the same pattern even, and then the material changed from that velour, whatever they had to what it eventually
whatever
became, a cotton poly blend. So I think it's when they finally got some money.
Or they just had a wardrobe. Whoever handles wardrobe said, "Hey, this shit is inconsistent," and I don't know.
All right, that's our guesses. We'll lock in our answer, and we'll find out next week whether we got it half right or not.
Dead, Jim.
We are assembled here today Pay final respects to our honored dead.
Didn't anybody die in this episode?
Well, if you count Unipuppy.
Oh, Unipuppy. I do count Unipuppy.
He was a part of the crew. Oh,
Yeah.
well, okay. So I had a question here.
Okay.
Does Evil Kirk count? Because as a body count, does his re-emerging, rejoining with, does that count?
I feel no, because he lives on in Kirk.
Good point. Okay.
Yeah.
So
just Unipuppy.
Unipuppy.
Oh, poor Unipuppy. It's too bad we don't get to see more of Unipuppy.
So rest in peace, Unipuppy. We know you were really a Cocker Spaniel, but but they put that ridiculous suit on you, and for that I am so sorry.
Do you ever dress your cats up?
I try, but I get scratched. But I do. So I do have a little lion head mane thing for Rax, and then I have some bat wings for Digsby.
That's cute.
So I have to tread carefully.
Yeah.
And they don't keep it on long.
Yeah.
So props to the dog that played Unipuppy for being so calm.
Yeah.
And laying there with all that junk on, because I mean, animals don't like that. So rest in peace, Unipuppy.
Let's get right to business.
Fine, I'm authorized to pay an equitable price. Federation has invested a great deal of money in our training. They're about due for a small return.
Listen, we pay off percentages. We're entitled to a little service for our money, huh?
Is this the way your citizens do business? Their right of petition?
They pay their percentages and the boss takes care of them.
Is there anything else?
And then we'd like to thank our patrons. Again, one of the best ways to support what we do here is to send us your money.
Yay!
And you can go to patreon.com/humanisttrek and support us for as little as $3 a month. It goes a long way to keeping this thing going. And we're going to be touring, going to different conventions and meeting with people and spreading the good gospel of humanism. Or something like that.
And Star Trek.
And Star Trek, yeah.
We're going to be spreading the Prime Directive. No, but they don't have the Prime Directive yet.
Oh.
Do they not?
No, I think you're right.
They don't have we're spreading the good news of the Prime Directive.
If it is, it's just unstated.
Yeah.
Will we see the birth of the Prime Directive?
I don't know.
I don't remember. As many times as I've rewatched these stupid shows.
Me too. I know they talked a lot
remember
about the Prime Directive in Voyager.
Yeah.
All right. That's something to look up.
Anyway.
No, something to keep in our back pocket in case Becca asks.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So patreon.com/humanisttrek. You can also spread the gospel of the show by sending some tweets or some Facebook posts. Share it with your friends. Anybody that you think would like Star Trek through the humanist lens, tell them about us. And you can go to wherever it is you listen to this podcast and rate and review us, and that helps us get a bigger audience too. So we appreciate you for helping us in all of those ways. Next time on Humanist Trek, Season 1, Episode 7, Mud's Women. We didn't talk about this during the quiz game, but do you remember much about this episode?
Nothing.
No?
I don't remember any. I can't even imagine what it's about. I don't remember.
Really?
Yeah.
So
do you remember?
I do.
Okay.
So I remember that Mud's women were like robots.
Interesting.
That he was selling.
Huh.
Yeah.
Another episode where they're just,
Yeah, sexualizing and
Great.
Yeah, great.
Looking forward
awesome.
to
it. The capsule for Mud's women is the Enterprise rescues con artist Harry Mudd and his beautiful female cargo.
Mm-hmm. Female cargo. Mm-hmm. You know, maybe it'll bring some memories back when I watch it, but at the moment, I don't remember anything.
I think it's probably because, so the very first VHS tapes that I bought of Star Trek, because I was collecting them all, right? Which is ridiculous, and the money that I spent on that, nobody can play them anymore.
I have one.
I think I've got a VHS player somewhere.
I have one. Or maybe I'm thinking of a DVD player. I do remember.
It's probably that.
I do remember VHS.
Yeah. So this was one of, I don't know, probably the first 4 or 5 VHS tapes that I bought there's 2 episodes, I think, in the original series. One is I, Mud, and one is Mud's Women with the character Harry Mudd.
Okay.
And for some reason, kid me liked that character, those episodes.
Weird.
Right? Like, I don't know why. If you've been watching the new Trek, Harry Mudd has returned in Discovery.
Really?
The time loop episode where he kept like bloop, hitting his Apple Watch and time would change. And he would go in and try to basically like destroy them.
Okay. I know I'm caught up. I don't know why. I'm going to have to go back and watch the episode.
Yeah. So that's Mud's Women. That'll be next week. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. Cool. We appreciate you.
Live long and prosper.
Kapla!
Humanist Trek is available wherever you replicate your podcasts. Follow us on all the social medias at Humanist Trek. Become a patron at patreon.com/humanisttrek. Open hailing frequencies to podcast@humanisttrek.com and visit our website, humanisttrek.com. Humanist Trek is a production of Sarah Austin Media.